You're very welcome back. Now we're looking at the best ways to protect your pets in a heat wave.
And here to give us all the tips and tricks is vet Dr. Bobby. Good to see you, Dr. Bobby.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
Okay.
Oh, you're very busy there.
I have my hands full, I think, here with Sheila. She is... I'm just trying to get a treat into her there so she can relax a bit.
Okay, poor old Sheila. Let's talk about heat stroke because you know we had an experience with this in our own house.
I'm sorry,
last summer.
Oh, no.
But not everything was all right in the end. But it can get very dangerous.
Yeah.
And what are the signs of it?
Yeah, well, one of the first signs, obviously, is it's going to happen. It can actually even happen in brachycephalic dogs any time of the year. You know, like and even with slight increases or stress, it can still happen there. But obviously, we're most concerned this time of year when it's really warm. But the big signs you're going to see is excessive panting. They're looking for water, lapping up water, drooling, and even when they're really bad, you can see them kind of collapsing and falling over, or even in the worst case, seizing. Yeah.
Now, when we look, oh God, she's
this
here.
Is Poppy, by the way.
Poppy is playing with my iPad now. But when it comes to it, we forget that we have sweat glands. We can sweat, but dogs can't.
Yeah. So they don't have that. So I think it's really important to differentiate between their ability to thermoregulate. So ours is to be able to sweat. Dogs can't. And so it's really important talking about brachycephalics, even compared to a lurcher.
When you say brachycephalics, you mean the French...
Squished up face.
Yeah,
so
basically the pugs, the boxers.
Yeah. You think of, like we were even talking earlier, is how they used to not be like that, and we bred them to have those short noses. And the best way that they get rid of heat is actually through respiration. So breathing, panting is how they're able to get rid of that heat. But when they're panting only gets rid of so much, they don't have that ability through their skin. And they can sometimes, what people see is they talk about their pads, and people say, oh, just get their pads wet and that'll be able to get rid of all the heat and they'll cool down. But really, the most efficient way is through their breathing, respiration.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I remember when this happened in our house last year, we rang our vet and he was brilliant. And hello, Joe, if you're watching today. And kind of we're just taking, not cold towels, but kind of tepid towels.
Yeah. Especially if you are getting to that point where you're concerned going, I have to now start actively cooling my dog. You want to be very careful because giving them ice cold water or covering them, and they're actually experiencing shock. Their body is going through something quite scary, and that we think just let's douse them in water. But then the problem can go is they can go from being hypothermic, so too hot, to then hypothermic, too cold. And that can be very difficult. Then you're asked to having to heat them up. So actually just using, like you said, like a towel, tepid water, trying to get that evaporation cooling effect onto their skin that they don't normally innately have because they don't sweat.
Yeah.
Okay, but if in doubt, call a vet or get to a vet.
Oh, absolutely. If you're ever to that position where you are concerned and they're not responding, anything, onto the phone to your vet to decide if, is an emergency, do you need to get down? And many times we're talking about hospitalization and emergency fluids and doing all these things. So
I'm a chew toy now. But, but we have lovely short hairs here, which are fine. They don't need grooming. For a lot of dogs, they need to be groomed regularly. And if they haven't been groomed adequately at this time of year, of course, their coats are going to make them even worse.
Yeah. So you have some breeds, like poodles, let's say, that don't cast, they don't shed. So if you leave them on, eventually they're going to look like a sheep, covered. So you want to clip them and make sure you get a good groomer. But it's also important to note that there's a lot of breeds out there, like German Shepherds and even like Malamutes and Huskies, where their coat is really evolved.
They have double hair, don't they, for the
a
heat?
double coat. So it allows them to, one, keep them warm, obviously in colder temperatures, but it has that double layer that also insulates them and protects them from getting too hot as well. So we actually don't want to just go and, buzz them completely off.
So shaving them could also lead
could be
to
some
burning.
problems.
It certainly could. It's funny because I know we spoke about this last year, again during a heat wave, but the right time to walk your dog.
Yeah. I think it's always a bit frustrating when you see people out in the middle of the day and they go, oh, I love this, I want to go out, and they're taking their dogs out with them on a walk, and that's great, but it can be too hot. Really avoid the peak times during the middle of the day. Go in the mornings, go in the evenings. Again, it's fine for us. We can go off, we can sweat. We want to get that exercise.
We wear shoes.
Yeah.
And exactly. Pads and the tarmac, particularly if it's on the road, they can burn their feet.
Absolutely. I mean, it does get hot enough. I mean, the ground does get quite a bit warmer than it does the ambient temperature. One technique we talk about is if you just put the back of your hand onto the ground and you're able to keep it there comfortably for about 5 seconds, your dog is probably fine. But if it is hurting after a couple seconds or it's a bit too hot, just think about them for 5 minutes standing on that. You can cause really, really bad damage to their feet.
Okay, and their paws are vital to them, be it a heat wave like this or extremely cold weather. If it burns, be it an ice burn or a sunburn, it can affect them regulating their temperature.
Exactly. If we talk about how limited they are, if it's just their respiration, really just their feet, if that's part burned off or not able to regulate that can make things substantially worse.
But it's not just, of course, heat stroke we have to worry about here, of course. I mean, we don't think of sunscreen when we think of ourselves, but when it comes to dogs as well, they can actually get burnt. They can, things like their ears, places that are exposed. We have to look at things like cancer as well, skin cancer for them. So, I mean, what else do we need to be mindful of with our pets when it comes to a heat wave?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's always kind of funny, people talk about sunscreen and cream and wanting to put that on them. It's really important to note we should not be using the same that we use for ourselves. There is compounds in that can be toxic to them. But most of the time, we don't need to be lathering our dogs with that. It's usually around their noses, they're on their ears sometimes, or even, let's say, dogs that have alopecia, they have hair loss. But you kind of talked about cancer there, really specifically with cats. Really white cats, we see that they're left outside for a lot of the time, and during this, the UV damage can actually affect their ears, and we see really commonly squamous cell carcinoma, so a type of cancer can affect around their face. And so if your cat allows you to try to get animal-safe sun cream to be able to...
That is the question.
to protect them,
You don't own cats. Cats own you. My God, they do as well. And because it is easy to think, yes, it is just about when they're panting, they're tired. Is there an argument for just not walking a dog in this sort of weather because, you know, it's just too much. They lose too much water and they're just not used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to think that if it is too hot, if we should be taking them out, there's lots of ways that we can provide enrichment and keep them happy inside where it's cooler temperatures, under shade. I even have like little a chew toy, or it's like not chew toy, but a lick mat that my own dog uses at home. And for that, we actually take like peanut butter and water, and we'll freeze that overnight. And the next day allows them to spend, well, I like to say hours, but probably gets through it in about 45 minutes. But to kind of lick and to, kind of think like an ice pop for ourselves for them. Just also, but provides stimulation at home when we're trying to avoid going outside, or we do think that it's too hot, that we want to avoid those dangers.
With cats as well, sometimes there can be a little fussier when it comes to their hydration. I know my sister's cat who had to go to sleep recently, poor Timmy Francis, had a stroke, but he was very, very specific about he would only have running water. He'd only drink running water. So that's why a lot of cats might jump up and try and get the tap, but got a little thing online for him to have it. So it's not just as easy as that for some animals, because some of them are just fussier than others.
Loads of cats have those problems with their kidneys where they're not drinking enough. And then one of the things we say is to offer them multiple water sources. Most dogs, you put one water bowl down, they're probably fine, but cats try to have running water sources or in different locations to have that.
So
fussy cats.
Fussy cats. Cats are very, 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 very fussy.
Okay. You've brought a few other things along because, yes, generally we have a dog or we have a cat when it comes to pets, but there are people with other pets and they have to be taken care of during this time.
Absolutely. I mean, I see a lot of, obviously, of working with exotic pets, from rabbits, chinchillas, reptiles and stuff like that. I think that's important to also consider them. What's really crazy is that actually rabbits, guinea pigs, chinchillas can't regulate nearly as well as even dogs can. So in those higher temperatures, we think of leaving rabbits outside in hutches, they can't cope with the heat even worse. So trying to bring them inside, and chinchillas even more so. She's going to go away. We'll wait for her to go. She didn't like that. Let's see if she goes off there.
She's off.
Yeah, so there is a really important consideration. The same principles that we're talking about with dogs and cats do apply to them. Bring them inside, offering them water and making sure that they're away from those heat sources. But I brought some things, actually talking about reptiles. We always think reptiles have to be kept in really, really warm terrariums and enclosures. But if we don't have thermostats or ways that we can control the temperatures, the outside environment then causes the inside to get warmer, and we think that we're providing that, and the temperature keeps getting higher and higher, and these guys can actually become very, very sick because they're so reliant on those temperatures to keep them safe.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. So look, anybody who's ever been down around the Everglades will know. You're not going to see an alligator at 12 o'clock in the day because they've gone down to the bottom to keep
cool off.
Shh, Poppy's asleep.
Oh, sorry.
Just go down. There you go.
Dr. Bobby, good to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Up next, we're catching up with comedian and actor Simon Hennessy.
Back after this short break.